Now last year I built a new crab pot. Now this crab pot needed to meet 3 criteria. One was it had to be affordable, 2 it had to be easy to build, and 3 it had to catch well. Well, I'm glad to say it did all 3. And I'm actually sitting on it right here. So today I'm going to show you how to build it. So this is the pod that we're going to build. Now the idea behind this pot was to make a pot that was quick to build, which was cheaper to build, but very effective. And this pot basically achieved it. Now you'll see that the neck is to the side. Sometimes they're in the middle, sometimes they're right at the end, but we put it just to the side a little bit. This is to allow the bait bag to come down the side here. You get plenty of bait in there and nothing can get to it from whatever side. And when you tighten this up, they can't get to it from the top either. Thereby, when they walk around the pot, eventually they find their way in here, because they'll try to come up here and hopefully go in. Well, they did basically, because we did test it and it was very effective. The other main thing with it is it doesn't have a trap in it, and I wanted to build a pot without the trap that catches pretty much just as well, because the traps in pots add a lot of cost to the pot, being that you're using quite a bit of netting to make that trap. It also puts a lot more time and effort to make the pot. Right, let's get started. You'll need 4 blocks cut at 45 degrees. And there it is, there's the base. Now I always put these parts on this side because you could put them here as well, but by doing it this way, all that area is on the floor. If you do it the other way, you end up with just these 2 edges, and they'll take more wear than having the main rods. Plus it'll make your pot a little bit narrower inside than doing it that way. Right, now we're going to cut the pipe. As you can see, I've already cut one here. I use these. They got like a flat here and a blade on this side, and they cut the pipe really well. Now, you can do it with secateurs or you can do it with a saw, whatever will get you the pipe. They'll both work. Now the length that you need to cut depends on the width of your base most of the time. Depends how wide you're going to make your base. But like this pot here, this one I cut these lengths at 100 centimeters. This one I've cut at 105. I'm making it slightly longer, 105 centimeters. Now you can cut them anywhere between 100 centimeters and 115, maybe 120. Again, it's down to your base. The wider your base, the longer pipe you'll probably need. The narrower your base, the less pipe you'll need. So you can base up, because sometimes when you buy the pipe, you buy it in meters, you just as well cut it at a meter. Keep your bases around sort of 18 to 19. Now we've cut 5. This is the same as the design of this one. The 5th one is basically to be able to put your bag between without just tying it to the net. You can get away with possibly doing 4, but it might get a bit soft on the net if you don't do your net tight enough. So five pipes, all the same length. Now to attach to the pipe, I use 4x40mm screws. That's these ones here. You can use stainless if you want, but I've never felt the need to use stainless because they'll just outlast the pots basically. So, and they're a bit more pricier than obviously regular screws. All you need to do is just check over each year. You can put another screw in now and again if you want. Now what I do with the end ones, just the end pipes, these ones, is I will put a regular screw in the bottom here, and where this one goes down the end grain, I'll put a longer screw. Now you don't need to use them that long, it's just that these are the ones I've got. In fact, that one's bent for some reason. But anything that's longer than this, probably 80s or something, you can get away with. And then drive a screw, because you're going into end grain, you want it to hold, and being the end of the pot, that's usually where you tie your rope, so you want it a little bit stronger. And then when you come to the middle ones here, you'll want to put a screw in either side, then you put a secondary screw in just to stop it from moving around, although your bars will do that later. It just helps to make it stronger and last longer. Coming in this way, suddenly we go to inches. I do it at 9 inch, but it's about 23 centimeters from the end. Then you would put, that would go like that, so it's on the, you've got a 9 or 23 to that mark there. Then you want to find out how big the neck you're using. That's the critical part. So get the distance of your neck, the top part of your neck, and measure that to wherever it ends there. Then add about 4 inches or so for your bait bag, depending on how wide you want it, and then put that one along to the next mark. Then you've got your bars spaced where they need to be. I always mark both sides, because if you get anything wrong, it's not going to line up. So do 9 each side. Then after that, like I say, you have to work out what size neck you're going to put into your pot. That will dictate the distance. Now if you've got a bradawl, it'll make your life a lot easier if you put a bradawl hole into the pipe first, but you don't have to, you can drill it. My bradawl is in the van at the moment, so I can't be bothered to go and get it. but you don't need to use one. Now, of course, you're going to put 2 screws in here as well. The ends you can do to start with, just make sure they're straight with the end of your pot. These ones, I would wait until you've got them all in before you put your second, then you can adjust them left or right and then put the final screw in. Then you'll get them perfectly straight or straight. Because if your neck's slightly off, you can put your neck in when the first screw's in and just adjust them to fit tight around the neck. So I'll be using what would be classed as an 8-inch neck or a 20cm neck. Now it's only going to be actually about 17.5 here because they count this plastic as well to a degree. So you're going to need about 7.5 inch of that. But again, you must decide on what size neck you're using and then allow that space to the next bar. So for us, it'll be 7.5 inches or 19 centimeters, near enough. Which is there. And the same this side. 7.5. There. Okay. And this is where, like I say, if you've got them like that, you can put that in and just sort it out, and then you can put your other screws in, or your second screw. And then this one here will be about 4 inch for that bait bag, about 10 centimeters. Now what I am going to do is I'm going to put a crossbar in here. It should be about right. Yep. Put a crossbar in there, but what I'll do is I'll put it just inside this bar here. Now your neck will go here. You don't want it right here. All it is to, well, it'll strengthen your pot, but it'll also add as a place to tie the bottom of your bait bag. Now, the bars that go across, I normally cut my own on the bench saw, but size-wise, they are about 4.5 to 5 centimeters by 1.5 centimeters, or 1.5 inch by 1/2 inch. And that's about the right size. When you put them on, it's better to have them a little bit longer as well. If you make them longer than you need, then you will avoid splitting the wood being away from the edge. And then when you're finished, if you just angle your saw and cut it, you'll get a nice angle so it doesn't hook bang on rocks. And you're going to need 4 of those. When you put these bars on, just make sure you haven't got knots like that, because that's a weak point and that can snap eventually. Just discard any that are like that. This one's okay, it's got a small knot, but it'll be fine. So when you put these on, you've got to evenly space this, try and get your neck straight on the top. The bottom ones, normally it's anywhere between 6 and 7 inch, or what's that, 15, 16 centimeters, isn't it? Oh, that's 16, 17 centimeters, somewhere around there. There's no exact size for it, but I normally go about, well, on this one I'll probably go 6.5 inches, so that'll be enough. And then the next one obviously has to go either side of the neck. trick with this is to use a bradawl on this end and put it in. Now I know roughly where it goes from the mark, how much I'm going to need. Do it at a slight angle like that. Then when you come to put your wood on, one of these say, you just put it on like that, and then you can screw at an angle down into them. If your screws are a bit long, either screw through, cut them with a grinder, or screw through at an angle. So here you just got to measure the distance. That's 7 inch. Just check it on both sides so you know you're straight. That's 7, and the other side is, have a look. The other side is 7 as well. So pretty much bang on 7 inch, or what's that? Just under 18 centimeters. But it'll vary depending on how high you put your bar. And again, mark it again. Right, so the next part is you're going to need to put a couple of pieces in the end here. So you're going to need to cut a piece which is level with the inside and just goes past that. Then we've got to notch this. I'll be doing it with a bandsaw, but you could do it with a jigsaw, or you could just cut a V and file it a little bit. It's just so that the pipe slots onto it, and you can put a screw down through the top, 2 screws through the bottom. Right, so the notches have been cut into the wood, and a little tip is cut them off center. Put your notch to one side so that when you put it into here, like so, it keeps it straighter. If you try and do it in the middle, your post will angle out a little bit. So thin side this, thick side in. Now when you put this screw in here, make sure you put a long screw in so it doesn't pull out if there's a heavy strain. If you suddenly have to strain this pot up, you should have a rope from top to bottom anyway, which will prevent that from happening, but it's just to stop it pulling up. So nice long screw in the top. You're going down the grain, you're following it, so you need a longer screw anyway to hold. Basically just bang a screw in here, straighten it up, bang, there we go. So there it is, the frame is done. Now an interesting fact is all the wood on this pot is made from old pallets, so we didn't actually have to buy any of the wood for it. The only things we bought were the screws and the pipe so far. The neck has also been given to me by a friend a couple of years ago. He gave me a whole load of these necks, and the costly part is going to be the net, which we're going to be putting on next. Right, net. Well, there's netting. I'll put a link in the description to a couple of places you can get net, floats, winches, that sort of stuff, you know, the usual crab potting gear. But this is the stuff we use. This is actually designed for crab pots. You can use other kinds of net, but this is the one I use. Now I buy it in a larger roll. It just saves money because I do them do pots every year or two. I do a few new ones. So basically what you do is you take that, you stick your pot on, you tack it down with either a bit of string or some zip ties, and you can fold the end up like that on that one, and then you need to cut a piece out just to do the other end. So basically just wrap it round. So you see the net is just temporarily wrapped round, held on with a couple of zip ties, bit of string, just to hold it there. Then the end, obviously this end here, we'll better wrap that net over, seal that up. This end, just get a piece, put it on here. I've cut a little strip off, and this strip is actually enough for the length of it to be able to do two ends. So when I make another pot, I'll have the other piece for another end to finish another pot. And again, just put it on here, string it down temporarily or zip tie it, then that'll be ready for roping. So what I'm doing with this end is I've cut this piece off, left this piece. Now I will tie this down, then I was just literally just string this together like that, and the string I'll either tie it off or I'll put a hook on it and just hook it up there. Now if you ever get anything jammed in the pot or you need to get inside the pot, you can just undo it or unhook it, open the pot up and get whatever you want to get out, or work on the pot inside to do any, if you want to do any repairs or anything. The other side of it is if you put a cord in here that rots over time, then eventually if you lose this pot, the cord will rot, the end will open, and anything can get out if it wants to. You can do the same the other side if you want, rather than that side, and just put a cut if you don't have this system of the net at the end. Cut it and restring it with just a cord. These pots aren't too bad. It's normally the ones that have the trap inside which are a bigger problem, which need that. Right, now rope for the binding. There. So I'm going to be using this. This is some old rope that we have lying around. This will be used to bind up the crab pot. Now how much you rope it is entirely up to you, because I have used pots before where literally I just close it with a string around the ends where all the joins are, and I've used pots like that. Now I wouldn't recommend it from a boat, but from a boat if you're keeping the pots out all the time, but if you're just throwing a pot out occasionally, you can get away with it. I'd say probably just bind up the bottom part and then you're good to go. If your pot's only going in now and again, or you're taking it down off the shore, that kind of thing, then you'd get away with just a rope at the base, maybe on the ends. But what I will be doing is I'll be roping the base all the way around, that bar there, and the ends, and this bar here, along with these side bits, the bits that are at the bottom. The top bit from here onwards, I don't bother roping. I've never had a problem with it. If your pot's weighted properly, then it's not going to roll around, you're not going to suffer any damage up here. So all I do is from here down. And the best thing is just use some old rope, if you can get it. There's other things you can use. They use quite often stripped down car tires for the base, but it will make your pot heavy. I would rope the pot, say, from here all the way along, around, down, and then down to there. And then I'd cut off or tie off, and then I'd do exactly the same on the other end. And that way you'll rope all the ends and the base with two pieces of rope. If you try and rope the whole thing with just one rope, you'll be pulling so much rope through, it'll slow you down. So it's quicker to just do it in sections, and that's the way. It doesn't really matter, you can start from there, as long as you come up and come down and get to the corner here again, or to this corner, and then down one of the sides to the end, and then just do the opposite at the other end, and you're good to go. And then when it comes to these ropes, I will literally just rope along, down, up, along, down, up, along, down, up, there. And then that's it, we're done. Now when you get to the end where you're going to stop with this bit of rope, all you got to do is take it around, tuck it up under somewhere like this, put a zip tie on, or a piece of string. You can bind it with string as well. Just zip tie that there, making sure it's nice and tight, and then when the next rope goes here, it'll bind over it. Now to finish this rope off, obviously it's still loose, we just start tightening it all the way back on itself. Have a screwdriver ready, because if you have a screwdriver you can get under the string. It depends how tight you want to make it. You don't have to make it that tight. It's better you want it tight, but if it moves a little bit, that's good, because if it drags or moves on the bottom, that will move. If it's too tight, it'll just scrape and eventually wear your rope away a lot quicker. So having it a little bit of movement in it is fine. So sort of hand tight is all right. But if you do want to tighten up areas where it's a little bit hard to get through, just get your screwdriver, do that, and that'll give you a bit more. Or if you're running out of rope and you can't quite make the end, you can do that. Now after you've tightened up these ropes, all you've got to do is you could go around there, go back on itself, wherever. We will go over there, just add a bit more to this corner, and then literally just stretch one of these up like that and poke it through like that, and just take this down as far as it goes. This will go through about two of them, I suppose, and then once you've got through two of them, you just put it up there or inside and just zip tie it, and that'll stay there, that won't go anywhere. So that's the main part of the pot done. All I've got to do now is run a rope along here, down, back up, along, down, back up, and so on. Now I'm going to use a thinner rope on this one. You don't have to, you can use the same thickness if you want. It's just that because I'm going to come back up on it, it's going to double over anyway, and this will be fine for what I use these pots for. And this is actually probably, it looks like something I've recycled off a old pot that we've had. Still alright, still usable. That's the roping done. Just a couple more things to do. Now we need to make a bait bag. You can use the same net. Just take a piece like that, double it over, tie a knot there, tie it off there, and then we're going to need to just tie it into here. Or, this is what I use. It's a smaller size net. Basically it means I can put all the little fish off bits into here, and if they're a bit smaller they won't come through the net. This net is fine, but obviously any bits can be pulled through, like fish skins and that, whereas this, they won't better pull it through so easy. Right, bait bag's made. That's all it is, just a bag. Leave the tags on just to be able to tie it in. Now we've got to cut hole for the neck, hole for the bait bag. Now once your bait bag's in, you want to go down about 1 or 2 holes, or just 1 hole's probably enough. Go in and out all the way around with another string. Just like that. Now what you do here is you make sure you have enough string that it opens to get the bait in, and just tie a double knot like that. Up there, that'll do. Cut those off like that. Now this, I'm going to put a metal hook on it. When that hook's on, it'll go like that, and it will just close the bag up, and the crabs and lobsters won't be able to sit on top and get the bait either, because you've gone down one lower. It seals it up. Now there's just a couple of things that are crucial at the end to do. The first one is to drill a couple of holes. You don't need to do them right in the middle, just to the sides like that, on every pipe. And that's good enough. Now when you drop your pot down, the air will come out of those holes, and it'll keep your pot straight as it drops. If you forget to do that, it's going to float, so even if you put quite a bit of weight, surprising how much the air will hold. Now you'll see the neck isn't actually tied in just yet. There's a reason for that, and that is the pot will need weights. Now you can use angle iron, sash weights, chain, anything that's heavy, you put it around. Now my pots weigh between sort of 36 and 40 pound in weight, but we are in very strong tides here. We have a 10-meter tide, and we face the Atlantic, so we get the Atlantic swell as well, and that's the main thing that will move pots, is the swell. But that's the kind of weight I put in, but what weight you put in will depend on where you're putting the pot and how deep you're putting the pot. Now we will be using this in a couple of weeks. In fact, I'll be building another one alongside it. And if you want to see how well it does, then follow the channel. And if you want to see any other builds like a parlour pot or just a standard D with the neck in the centre, I'll leave a link in the description to a playlist of various builds. And we'll catch you on the next one.